Hello everybody, welcome back again to my channel. I am Henry Haight and I'm a multidisciplinary artist here in my studio for the meantime. Today's episode is another episode 3 of Artist Talks. And again, a fellow comrade of mine in arms through creativity, Gary Alford. I met Gary Alford, he was kind of a local yokel when I had my tattoo shop in Shoreditch. And I think I crossed paths with him around 2004, 2005. He was working at my local art supply around the corner from my shop, Colleen Wilcox. Colleen Wilcox is a chain of art stores in London. I'm not affiliated with him, but he was working there at the time, and he was always very friendly. And through some of the other fellow artists that I knew within London, the dots started to connect, and I started to see his work. The thing I love about Gary's work is that everything he does is done by hand, no machines. He is quite admittedly not very tech savvy, brain fart there, sorry. He's not very tech savvy in the sense of, Procreate and Photoshop and all those other things, but everything that he does, and I love that credo about certain artists that, like myself, everything that I do has to be made by my own hands. He's got no team or whatever. Looking at Gary, you would never suspect that he'd be down with the Wu-Tang crew and, in their posse, but props. He loves to work in gouache, inks, oils, and he uses loads of mixed medias. My first image that I saw of his was actually a painting of Sharon Tate, and because I'm very into the Manson family and all those like spooky, scary, weird, like crazy things about LA, I was immediately drawn to him. And when I would see him walking around the neighborhood, he always had a smile on his face. Just a freaking lovely dude. Just just very easygoing, as opposed to be this tightly wound. But Gary is a man of many talents, and I cover his creative process, his journey through his trajectory in his career, how he came about with the Wu-Tang Clan. So if you want to check all that out, stay tuned and keep watching. So don't forget to hit that notification button and hit the like and subscribe button. And I will speak to you guys later. Take it easy. And I give you Mr. Gary Alford. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Ah.
I can hear you now. Yeah. Technology. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, man? How's everything?
Yeah, all right. Okay, I'm just checking my setup in the back. How cool it looks. Does it look cool? Looks cool.
Yeah, it's good.
Good.
So what's been going on with you?
Lots of stuff. Moving around, moving a bit further out. I don't live in Shoreditch now. I live out in Edgware. Like, you know where Edgware is?
Yeah.
The end of the Northern Line. It's a little smaller place, but it's a little bit quieter than Shoreditch, which is good. But
I think Shoreditch is kind of dead. There's things I loved about it early on, but
yeah,
it was. Remember the whole Nathan Barley, before the whole explosion,
Yeah.
before hipsters were hipsters, they kind of taking the piss out of. I think they called them scenesters.
Right.
What was it? What's that fucking bar that opened around the corner? It was before Jaguar Shoes.
Okay.
They have the Banksy.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah.
But I remember when they opened, it's a huge deal, and
Right.
when the Yummy Mummies came in, it kind of ruined it. I think when I realized it was over, I paid £9 for a Japanese hot dog.
Oh shit. Okay.
I was just
almost not worth it.
It wasn't worth it. So, so you keeping busy with work then?
Yeah. There is work, but this is the third time I've moved since November. I went to Tottenham,
right,
and then I came here, and you know how it is when you have to uproot. You know how it is.
Yeah,
you uproot, and then trying to get back into it. Everything's. If I just move my setup there, you'll just see boxes. Things are still in boxes. Some of my work tables on boxes. You just wonder if it's even worth unpacking shit sometimes. You know what I mean? And it's like, so yeah, it's all right. There's work. It's just not.
Would you classify yourself as a typical artist hoarder?
Hoarder. Oh my God.
Between hoarder or would you say hoarder or collector?
Guys, I think the collector bits like that and the hoarding bits like that. But yeah. I just had to get rid of a whole bunch of vinyl. Like I had to sell a lot of my vinyl because it's just sitting around. It's just sitting around. I haven't got a record player. If I did, this is a small place. So I thought I might as well get rid of it. And you see how much that was just proper. That was addictive collecting. That's right. Like I didn't need it, but I was just addictive buying. Right? Just those late nights, just sitting there, just like Amazon. Oh, I need that. Oh, I need that. I need that.
I was talking to Billy Chainsaw, and he was telling me that he likes listening to CDs. And I'm like, I don't own any CDs anymore. I used to have I think about 2000, bands would just give me CDs.
Right.
A lot of managers give me promos, and I would just, and when I got divorced, I think my husband kept most of them.
Right, okay.
He didn't even listen to my type of music. So I was just like, owning CDs, I think now I've tried to not go minimalist, but just, streamline stuff.
Yeah, I would love to live like that. I would love to. I would love to have this kind of Japanese Zen kind of just have that and that, but it just doesn't work. And as an artist and using, like yourself, traditional materials, I mean, if I turn the camera over there, it's boxes full of acrylics and oils and this and right.
Yeah, I've got a closet filled with canvases and potions and lotions and all kinds of it adds up. And then I go ape shit for brushes. I just start throwing brushes in the basket. Right.
And I do that, and I've got boxes full of brushes, but it's like clothes, isn't it? It's like I've got chests of drawers full of t-shirts, but you only wear the two. You know, and it's the same with brushes. I've got so many, but these are my ones.
Those are your favorites.
Forever. Do you know what I mean?
So do you skimp or splurge on brushes?
Sorry?
Do you skimp or splurge on your art brushes?
Skimp. Yeah. Don't splurge on them. No, I get the cheap ones. See, these ones here, Artist Junior from one of the art shops up in Shoreditch. Synthetic.
Well, I think the last time I saw you was in Great Art on Shoreditch High Street.
Last time you saw me in there buying stuff, maybe, yeah, because I used to work in Cowling, didn't I?
Yeah.
And that's where we first met. Yeah. All those years ago. Yeah. But yeah, that might have been it. Great Art was where I went, but mainly because of these little cheap. I mean, the little ones are I mean, it was like they're like 75p or whatnot, and they're fine. And I use them for oil and acrylic. They've got oil, acrylic, watercolor on them, whatever. And I know artists who just have all their separate things. Maybe Mason Storm will tell me that, you know, that's very naughty, or maybe you won't. Maybe you won't. But it's
No.
it kind of works for me.
I like high end and low end. I'm not too bougie when it comes to art supply, but when it comes to, you know, like molding paste and stuff, I go for the high end stuff. Or if I'm doing gilding, I go to STUART Art Stevenson, you know, and they're quite pricey. And I have bought a few brushes from them where, you know, I'm veering into the 100-pound mark.
Right.
You know,
okay.
Well, I think sometimes when I've had like a really big commission, I thought I'll buy one brush, I'll splurge on for that. And during the stress of moving to come back to see my folks, I lost about 8,000. A fire happened in my studio, and I lost about 8,000 pounds worth of brushes. My big paddle brushes and stuff, and it was awful. It was like, you know, so, and I didn't know what was happening because they were paving out in the street, so the smell masked the fire. Yeah, so I was just like, what the fuck happened? And yeah, so I have
Sure.
Yeah, I still have a collection, but I'm starting over with the big stuff. So the nature of this interview is to virtually get into the headspace of different artists, and that, as you know, a lot of artists that we all know, we're all so different from each other, from our work and our backgrounds. Our tastes might be similar, but the running themes can run parallel. And I wanted to see how artists go about their creative process, where they draw their inspirations, and then you know, just talk about their opinions on how they view the current state and, you know, of art, especially right now with certain issues. We've just gone through a global pandemic, and normally when there's a seismic shift in the world, art always has to, I don't want to say you know, take a different viewpoint, but this is where we reflect on what has just happened, and we use our voice to, I mean, we observe the world as it happens, and, you know, the narrative. So that's why I wanted to ask you, because, you know, you do such a vast array of stuff, and it's quite fascinating. I love, what is it about your crows or your ravens that you like doing so much?
That comes straight out of the pandemic, actually, because needed something to do. You know, being in the flat all the time, and it was all strange. It was
right behind you.
There you go. Yeah, and there's feathers over there that they brought me as gifts and whatnot. I mean, so I would go for a walk. You know, my partner at the time was back from work, and she was living with me in that flat in Shoreditch, and it was all a little, you know, it's fine, but I needed to go out and take a walk. And I would go out and I would hang out with the crows that would hang out in Shoreditch Park outside the Alfred Hitchcock Memorial, you know. Funnily enough, you know, it's there, and they've got like this murder of 85 crows there. And I sat with them and got to know them, and I thought, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw like 19 COVID artworks, COVID-19, haha, whatever, you know, and then I just kind of got into it and just kind of really enjoyed hanging out with them, and then coming back, and they really got me through it. They really got me through the strangeness that was going on. And of course, they were happy to be around because there were less people, like, kind of.
Well, I think, you know, the weird thing is they're so significant in like literature and art, like, you know, with Hitchcock, you know, and then if you go to, you know, the Tower of London, those fucking birds are massively huge. They're like Damien Omen huge, you know.
Right. Yeah. Do you know what? To tell you the truth, I haven't seen them at the Tower of London. I remember seeing them as a kid, the ravens there, so I didn't actually go and visit them at all. And it was, yeah, but I appreciate that. They're at least 3 times the size of a normal.
Yeah. Do you remember when they did the poppy blood red moat? I went to see it with my partner and my dog, and I remember watching the ravens in the moat, which made it even that more terrifying. I remember taking photos, and I thought, oh, this would fucking be really, because artists respond to visuals, and are there certain visuals that you respond to when you're out in the general public, like that draw inspiration for your work?
It's mainly buildings, though.
Really?
Yeah, architecture. Which, I mean, London was great for that. Shoreditch was great for that. I mean, in the suburbs, it's a different. Now I'm in the suburbs again, which is nice, but it's all semi-detached houses and conversions. Do you know what I mean? It's not, but walking around Shoreditch, and you can go any way. And I used to go up to Bun Hill burial grounds up there where William Blake's buried, and just all the buildings. Just you'll notice another one and another one and another one, and then they all look different in different light. And that's what was amazing about around that area. But yeah, buildings are my architecture is my main inspiration, but I try and cross it over into a drawing of a crow's feathers somehow that makes sense to me. It's like, yeah, you can see how a crow's feathers are overlaid and pinion feathers and whatnot, and I'm thinking of it in a kind of architectural way.
Well, they are sleek by design. When I see certain things, either people or inanimate objects, I correlate them to something completely different. Like when I see a VW Bug, I think of, like, the car, I think of a child's roller skate, like a giant baby roller skate.
That, yeah. They kind of remind me of oh god, there was a toy in the 80s, and it was like a teddy bear girl, and she had roller skates on. So, and they're very kind of. I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
Because was it Jean-Paul Gaude virtually referred to Grace Jones as aerodynamic, like she was like this like Lear jet, like fighting jet. And when he said it, I could see it.
I see
it. I think certain artists break things down into design.
Yeah.
So you do that with buildings. Anything else you?
No, not really. Not that I'm aware of. I mean, back to the buildings. I mean, I think my favorite art is Piranesi. See the Piranesi books in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing art.
That's a section of mine in the back.
Right.
And I was interviewing Billy Chainsaw, and he was like, Larry Clark.
Right. Yeah.
He has better eyes than I do, but he was like, "Is that Tulsa in the back?" And I'm like,
"Right,
yeah." And I was like, and he was like, "Is it original?" And I'm like, "No, it's an addition." But I remember having the original book. It was a lot. There are a few photos missing from that, but art books, I think, are an artist's investment into their inspiration. So, who's your inspiration, or your go-to artists that you look for, that are your foundational resource material?
Piranesi for the kick up the arse, like, oh god, this guy's so good, I have to step up my game, sort of thing. And it's something to aspire to, that technical level. And I think a lot of that was etching work as well, which makes it difficult. But Bill Sienkiewicz, let me grab Bill. This is where I make it obvious that I'm wearing shorts. That's the old that's the old zoom in. Bill Sienkiewicz.
Wow. Okay.
Comic book artist. Yeah, amazing. Because he's got that looser style. So the kind of tight work of an architectural artist, and this guy's loose work. I mean, that kind of thing. It's
wow. There's that Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, Strange opens on that page. Yeah.
Whitechapel represent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this really, and funny enough, I mean, stuff like that. The latest Bobby Digital album, the album I did for RZA. So there's four albums, four Bobby Digital albums, and the first one, right? So two of them are done by me, but the first one was done by this guy.
Right.
Which is really cool because, you know, I really look up to him. So it's like he's got the first one, I've got the second two. So it's a bit like
so how did you get into the Wu-Tang crew?
That was back in 2004, and I did my degree in graphic fine art in the University of East London. And I always played, you know, in my bio and whatnot, I'm a self-taught artist because really. I am, you know, I barely saw a tutor there, but what you get from it is, you know, you get a crit and they go, awful. But like, and you go, oh, shit, right, okay.
Yeah, that's something that I really never liked about art school is that when you go into school, you're learning techniques or like the foundational stuff, but then it's kind of like they leave a bunch of babies in the pram of their own devices. And then you're like, okay, you're having a graduate show, go.
Yeah.
Now they teach you the business of, you know, how to approach, you know, agencies, galleries, you know, they really now teach you how to fend for yourself. But
useful.
About 20 years ago, it was every man for himself. But then with RZA, like, how did that collaboration come about?
So I just I just graduated that week, and I don't know what the hell you do with an art degree. And I was a Wu-Tang, RZA particularly, of my idols. Like, I've really admired RZA's drive and his creativity, and the fact that he had a 5-year plan with these guys and saw it through. And I thought, amazing. And they were playing a few days after I graduated. So I thought, what if I try and marry, because I'm really stuck, what if I try and marry the two? And I quickly drew down some sketches, some portraits of them, stuck them in my back pocket on a postcard size bit of paper, stuck them in my back pocket, and just kind of went down the front near the stage after the gig is finished and thought, see if I can hand something. I'll write my details on the back, expecting nothing would happen, and just kind of was like, waving some artwork, and their tour manager, a guy called Banger, kind of took it, and I thought, I'm never going to see that artwork again, whatever. But at least I kind of felt like I might have tried. And he kind of spun around and said, well, you did this, and
you paid respect.
And that was it. and that was it. And then I just started working with them through Inspector Deck, first of all, and then other affiliate members for a while. And then I spoke to RZA that night, and, you know, I was crapping it, really. I was 23. And it's like, I'm face to face with my idol. I mean, he wasn't even looking me in the face, but I was like, wow. And he kind of pulls out the artwork without looking at me and goes, so you did this? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, we'll talk. And I'm like, I can just go home now and think about that for a week, whatever. And so I worked through other people first, and then
your imagination is like,
yeah. It was so weird. I thought, I'm not going to be able to sleep, you know. But I would email stuff to this Banger guy, and said, can you send it to RZA? And he was, but I didn't think he was, but he was. So years later, I get a message from this guy called Kinetic, who I became friends with, who's like from Wu-Tang Killer Army, an affiliated group. And he's like, oh, I've got good news. RZA wants you to do his album cover. And I'm like, shit. And I spoke to RZA, and he's like, I bet you didn't think I've been seeing everything. I saw everything that was sent through. And I'm like, wow. Cool. And then I did, So then I did his album cover, and yeah, it was, quite the honor. I mean, yeah, interesting.
So in terms of your work, because you do a lot of hip hop, but then, you know, one of the pieces I remember I loved you doing was you did Sharon Tate, and, you know, some artists, especially If you know a lot of the dudes from like Jason Atomic, Billy Chainsaw, so we kind of like more of the macabre, dark stuff, and this fascination with I have a fascination with serial killers and like the Manson family, and not that I have, but the story of the Manson family and the effects that it had on popular culture. Because like natural born serial killers, there seems to be this elevated celebration of not an anti-hero, but someone who did these heinous crimes. But then it kind of elevated Sharon Tate into almost like a religious martyr in a sense. And then, and she was married to what is we would consider now as, you know, this, some would say this sexual predator, but a very private. But there's a story behind all that. So, you know, and for me, faces tell a story.
Yeah.
You know? So what was it about the Sharon Tate paintings that you did that like fascinated you about her, the subject? Or
I think like you say, faces telling a story, and it was really difficult. I don't know, just that the subject matter. Seeing if you can get, you know, such a horrible event to fit it into a portrait, which is just a portrait, which is eyes and whatnot. And I was doing these large paintings over her, and the girlfriend at the time was like, "You shouldn't paint her. It's bad juju. Yeah, you shouldn't be painting her." And I couldn't get, even if it was a happy picture of her, I couldn't get her to look happy in the painting, just by nature. Like she just looked horrified or scared. I couldn't get the face to look how it was, like a glamorous smiling shot. It just didn't work. It was kind of something was coming through the air, through the brush, into the picture, through my knowledge of what happened, or as much as anyone knows. And it was coming through the brush and totally altering the face on the canvas. And it was interesting. I kept trying and trying.
I ask all these artists, like, when you're working on a piece, do you ever find that a piece, it takes on its own life and then be combative with you because you're trying to communicate with this an inanimate object, and the guy's like, no, not today, and you're like, do you ever feel like, you know how young kids on social media go, trust the process? Do you ever trust the process and or like see where it's going to take you, or do you use the wrong color and then you lose the whole feeling of the work?
I think I used to do that more, like give up before. Now I go through with it, and I think that's where the Bill Sienkiewicz inspiration comes through, because he's not, you know, everything's a little bit of a mess and it works perfectly. Nothing's the perfect color, nothing's the right color for skin or whatnot that you would imagine. But so yeah, now it's more trust the process, I guess, and just see where it ends. And I just kind of got sick of having loads of unfinished work around because I'd given up. You know, it's like, not doing it. I don't like it now.
But do you ever go back to it and go, oh, this isn't too bad? I pulled it once when I was in movie studios. I pulled something out and I'm like, oh shit, this is because I'm, you know, you've been looking at something for hours, and you know, like a singer who sings the same fucking song over and over, night after night, and you know, like, do you ever put it away and go back to it later, or do you attempt to do it a fresh piece differently? What's your process?
I do leave it over a night and go back to it, but I don't think I've left anything for a long amount of time and gone back to it. I can do that with, apart from fantasy buildings that I draw, because that's fine. It's not right or wrong. I've made them up. So I go back to them. Like after commissions are done, I go back to them. But no, I don't think I've really gone back to something after a long amount of time. It's gone. It's gone then. My love for it's gone anyway. And it's kind of like I've moved on from wanting to do that, you know, wanting to do that piece, that you've just lost the feeling for it. But
Is there an artwork that you saw growing up that made you want to be an artist, or what was the defining moment that you thought I want to pursue this?
my mum used to take me to the galleries in London when I was younger, and I think one that really stuck out, and I've not been able to find it since. It was a painting of Medusa's head, the Medusa's head on the floor, and it wasn't Caravaggio's Medusa on the shield. It wasn't one of the more famous ones, but that really stuck out. That really stuck out. I mean, that would have been in the National Gallery.
Well, they've got some amazing pieces in the National Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
They have amazing pieces in the National Gallery. I mean, I was there a couple of months ago, and I go there for inspiration, and I noticed that depending on my mental state, I now look at different pieces I would have walked past, years before. I go, but for somehow I just like, oh, okay, and I stop and take notice. I always look at like the Peter Paul Rubens and Paul Delaroche, the execution of Lady Jane Grey. That one just, I have to see it every time I go in there and just stare at it.
Right.
The Henry VIII with the skull. And I can never get that proportion right to where to get, these stupid paintings that you're supposed to relax your eyes, you're supposed to see a boat, or they were like about 20 years ago. I still can't do that.
Yeah.
But at what age did you start your drawing?
Always done it. Always, as far as I can remember, always, since a kid. As a kid, I was always up at the table drawing. It was always, always. I'd never remember not drawing, even on like old sugar paper and whatnot that would be brought in from school, really rough stuff, and with really rough materials. So as a kid, up at the table, it was kind of my little safe. That little corner of the table at home was my little safe space where I felt like I would be congratulated rather than felt like I was a nuisance. Same with school. It was like I was rubbish at everything, crap at everything, just couldn't get my mind into everything until it was art class. Right. Then I felt safe and could do it. And that was kind of the same at home. I would get congratulated for painting, whereas everything else I just felt,
Yeah, no, you're kind of forced. Like, I'm horrible at math, so but how important is it for an artist to be a good businessman now?
I would say pretty damn important. I would say important. Well, it would help. I don't think it's not a necessity, but I imagine it helps a lot.
And how do you feel as artist's brand? Would you describe how would you describe your artist brand?
My artist brand, you know what? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. And it's something I need, it's something I wish I'd seen through or before now a lot more. I just run out of energy with that side of it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so, how crucial is the social media play into your career? I mean, is it a necessary evil or a marketing tool?
It's kind of a necessary evil. And again, with that, I suddenly go, right, I'm going to get into it, and I spend a week posting a couple of times a day, trying to get the interaction with people, because you know how it is on social media. They'll block artists showing their work, so it's tough. I mean, you'll put up a silly statement about something, you suddenly got 30 likes. You put up an artwork and all you get's 5 likes. It's get. What is it? Shadow banned, is it?
Do you think there's a difference between career artists and Instagram artists, or those domestica courses that like, hey, draw like me, and virtually, I always think that career artists virtually kind of go through struggles and experimentation, but it seems now that, especially social media, everything starts looking the same. You know, like the illustration for children's books, or rather than just experimentation of, you know, really getting the individual's, you know, headspace on piece of paper or canvas.
Mm-hmm. You'll have to ask me that one again because someone called and you muted.
All right.
So I don't know what you were saying. Sorry.
Do you think there's a disconnect between like social media artists as opposed to artists? To me, because social media artists all kind of draw the same or look the same. I can't differentiate them from each other. And Domestica are just cranking out, you know, these things that look like, you know, children. Nothing wrong with children illustration books, but it kind of dumbed down what they call art.
Yeah. It does. Instagram's an unhappy place to look at artwork and be inspired, really, isn't it? It's not. You know, it's
so for you, would it be art institution or art collector?
Would it be art institution or art collector?
Yeah, which would you prefer?
Do you know what? I don't know. I don't know.
So where would you like to take your art at the moment? Or is there a goalpost that you would like to achieve, like, you know, get into, you know, a permanent collection somewhere, or you know, a series of books? You know, where do you want to take it?
Series of books would be nice, but I'm just actually kind of happy bobbing along. Obviously, I'd like to make more money out of it, but just like just kind of bobbing along as I do is all right, and taking on random commissions from here, there, and everywhere, and then doing my own work as well. I mean, obviously, getting into places where there's more money and you get more freedom, like having a collector, would be good. And you know, but.
So, what do you think the biggest misconception of being an artist is?
The biggest misconception. I think there's a lot to choose from, isn't there? I don't know. And a lot of them maybe aren't even misconceptions that I'm thinking of. A lot of them are quite true. But I don't know. Sorry, I'm giving you a lot of I don't knows in an answer. And I think I'm quite like that generally because I've got a bipolar kind of brain, and I'm like, yeah, no, yeah. And somewhere in the middle, I'm agreeing one side and disagreeing, and
no, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we'll do lightning round. Love or money? Do you do love or money?
Love. Yeah.
Which would you prefer, Picasso or Warhol?
Oof. Oh God. Oh, that's a tough one. I don't. Well, okay, right. Lightning round. Picasso. Well, I'll say Picasso.
Okay.
And I'm going to take it back. I'm going to say Warhol. I've changed my mind. There you go. See, told you. It's like that.
Day or night?
Sorry?
Day or night?
Day or night? Night.
Jack the Ripper or Charles Manson?
I'm going to have to say Jack the Ripper because I'm friends with Sharon's family. So,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, people that know her, and yeah. I mean, back to Sharon, it was like I did one painting, I sent it to her sister, and she went, "Yeah, you've got her," and that was one of the paintings I'll send. And Deborah Tate was like, "You've really got her," and Deborah Tate comments on my artwork now and then, and likes and loves. And body double, a lovely woman called Sharon Groves. Who was body double in a surfing film that Sharon was in with Tony Curtis. We talk all the time, so I'm on the Tate side of things.
The Tate family.
Yeah. You're in the Manson family.
What has been the best advice you've been given as an artist?
The best advice. Oh God. The best advice I've been given. I'm trying to think of who it would be by. And it definitely wasn't the advice given to me by Grayson Perry once. But because I did when I graduated my show, I did and it wasn't even advice, it was just a comment. I did a 23-foot long drawing of London, all broken down. 23-foot long. I did it at my mum's house, whatever. Wow. And Grayson Perry chose 3 people to speak to, and he spoke to me, and he was like, "Well, why didn't you draw? It was the buildings, houses, Houses of Parliament all the way down." It was like, why didn't you draw them full size?" And I'm like, "Sorry." Because I'm thinking 23-foot long is pretty long anyway. And he's like, you should have drawn them full size. And I'm like, so well, maybe next. I'm like, what was that? Do you know what was that? There's a comment. What the fuck was that? So yeah, that wasn't. Yeah. So
well,
the best
gossip. He can be quite prickly.
Right. So the best advice, and she's like, "I don't know." It would have been something along the lines of just keep doing it. Something cliche like that. Just keep going and just don't get disheartened by it if you,
And what advice would you give any artists starting out right now that want to do this for the long haul? Because it is a difficult task.
Technically, you don't have to do everything like on computer. I don't use computer for my work at all, but it would be very useful, even if they're just doing traditional materials. Get that side of it as well, which I think a lot of people, the younger lot, are anyway. They just naturally do that. I never had a computer at home. All the computers at university got stolen in the first week, so I've never had them there, so never got that technology side of it. But to make sure you have that to balance up the traditional side, but I don't have that, and I think I would be a lot further along if I had, So,
Gary, man, thank you so much. You've been the star.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate this. I'll let you know when I'm posting this up. I'll send you a link, and I'll put all your website and socials on the tube as well. So give me a couple of days, and we'll speak then.
Henry, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you having me along, and I hope that was all right. I hope it wasn't too much.
No, it was amazing. All right, man. Take it easy.
My friend, good talking to you. Bye-bye.